Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the Built for the Pursuit podcast. On this episode, we have the Midwest Whitetail team here to talk about summer prep, what they've been doing to get ready for the season, as well as their new Chasing November series that just dropped on YouTube, and some other upcoming hunts and new properties that they've been preparing for, with some digital scouting tips and some things they're looking at there. So hope you enjoy the episode and stay tuned. Hey everybody, Carlos here with Bushnell. Welcome to the episode 1 of the Built for the Pursuit podcast. We've got Bob here as well, and we are here with Midwest Whitetail. So we've got Chad Holmes, Drake Lamb, and Josh Sparks. So
Good to be here, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
welcome. So just get this going, what have you guys been up to?
Well,
Who wants
a
to
lot.
start? Yeah.
It's summertime, man.
Yeah.
It's go time right now.
For sure.
You kick it off, Chad. You got Kansas going?
Oh yeah, man. We got Kansas. We got Illinois. Just a lot of prep.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure that food plots are in. It's that time of the year. You got to get them in the ground. We've had some moisture here lately, so it's been a good opportunity to get them in, and so we've been successful, with timing and getting plots put in.
Getting everything ready?
Yeah. So inventory's good. I mean, we're the trail cameras are starting to show some good signs of some deer that we recognize. And feel like we'll be able to tell some stories this year if everything lines up like it's supposed to.
So when you guys are doing that, like how many, because you're building stories, right?
Sure.
So at this time, about how many do you have sort of as opportunities, and then how does that percentage change over time?
Oh man, I mean we've got with our staff, we have such a large pro staff, such a large main team, and those guys all have great properties to hunt. So I mean, as far as number of potential stories every year, I mean Josh, he does most of the he oversees all the editing and production for everybody on the team as a whole, and he'd be able to tell you a better number. But I would say probably, and we could start anywhere from 100 stories, but only end up with, I don't know, 35 or 40 by the time the year's over with.
Yeah, I mean, it really all starts years before. I mean, that's where you always hope with, right? Like the way, we do, obviously, the Midwest Whitetail main show, that's a weekly series, but it's the daily channel that builds on itself every day throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
So you start 23 right now, everything looks good. I mean, like some of the bucks that we were hoping were going to show back, this does not apply to me. I have no deer to talk about. So I'm hunting brand new farms. But with the team, I mean, there's right now, I would comfortably say 4 deer above 190,
Oh wow.
3 above 200 that are all historically pretty thoroughly already captured, and that's like, we've talked about it ever since the internship years back in 2017. It's like Midwest Whitetail was always captivating because you got to see the development every season. What did one season teach you about the next, and then how did it end? You always fit it into one episode,
Yeah.
which doesn't ever really, I think, tell. It almost like, we've talked about, with our intern class, what do you think about Midwest Whitetail? And it just looks like you walk out there and shoot a deer. It's like, it's just not the case. You talked about everybody hunts good farms. Well, one of the things I love most about Midwest Whitetail is the diversity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, when you use that term good farm, like I'll use Owen Riegel or Mike Reed, for example. They might hunt big parcels now, but one of the things that I draw inspiration from every day is where they started. They hunted public land in Michigan. Owen did. Mike hunted public land in Louisiana. They chased the dream, and now they're living it. And
Yeah.
so it's like, right now, our current team, you've got Chad, you own ground. Him and I hunt permission farms only.
Gotcha.
I do a decent amount of hunting between permission and public, and that's kind of my plan this year. It's like covering top to bottom, those stories have something for everybody.
Yeah,
There's no factor of unrelatability. That's something we do hear a lot is like, this isn't my style of hunting. I could never do this. And it's like, that mindset you might not be able to, but like you can't take away from Owen, Mike, yourself, Zach Rosmus. They're living the dream they set out to achieve.
Yeah.
So
Well, and there's probably different strategies to that. When
Yeah.
they're changing how that's moving. You guys are telling all those different strategies and tips. So
Yep.
that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah. The with that, I know, how many people do you have in the team right now?
I'd say total it's probably 125, 130.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's accurate.
And we're really blessed with a great team. I mean, everybody that comes to Midwest Whitetail chooses to come. We don't ever really run any sort of like recruitment, you know. They're guys that love to film. We offer the ability to try to help them get better with filming. You know, we all love to deer hunt first and foremost, but I'd argue anybody that's associated with Midwest Whitetail enjoys reflecting on memories. You know, it's not about, I never got into this because of episodes, or I just like being able to watch back the things we talk about. You know, most folks only get to look at a photo or talk about the memory. You know, it's like if we bring up your 186 from 2019, it's like, let's just go watch it. You know what I mean? We get to go relive that raw emotion, you know, and that makes taking a camera worth it every time.
That's what I grew into, because I didn't like come into this like, I fell in love with the storytelling of Midwest Whitetail back in 2010 or whatever, and then I didn't really have any aspirations or any like experience running camera, but I was like, man, if I could like learn how to run a camera, I could hunt every day. And that was like my, you know, that getting into it, and like now it's just like you go to the tree without a camera, and it's just like, man, what am I even doing here? Like, you know, you can't bring it back and watch it. So it's just like I fell in love with that, you know, filming, capturing the story, like more than I, you know, when I started, and it was just like, oh, like I get to hunt every day, you know, it's sweet. But like now it's just like, okay, I love to hunt, and I love the video stuff, so it's just like it goes hand in hand.
Evolved a little bit.
And I think it's really important to shout out Bill Winke. You know what I mean? I mean, he's the one that did it in 2008. We're just continuing that legacy. That's the goal every single day. So, you know, I always talk to people about Bill, and he was a fantastic writer. Well, he was the first person, I think, that ever was able to bring emotion across in video. You know, and that's where that storytelling component came from. You know, and you know, Midwest Whitetail. Basically, let's talk about the root of the question. What are the stories? You never know.
Yeah.
You just capture everything, and then one day the deer dies, and you look back and go, okay, those 45 days that weren't relevant last year all of a sudden now play a role in this final story. And that's where, like, you know, we talk about the interns, you know, they're like, why are we filming this? And I'm like, because you never know what this day could mean this year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now.
How that piece plays into the
100%.
puzzle or the
you don't have
story.
it, you can't use it, you know, and it makes it easy when you get to be a part of those final products, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing super special and unique. It just takes a lot of dedication to putting that camera first, you know, trying to think the bigger picture, and it helps that we enjoy doing it. So,
For sure. And I think the cool thing about it too is here we are 15 years later. You know, we're celebrating our 15th year this year, and the passion and the drive and the excitement is still there. You know, so kudos to Bill for laying the foundation, and then you got guys like Drake and Josh who are coming in now, and you know they're just building off of that foundation that was laid 15 years ago. And man, to me it's just because I was here. I started back in 2010 with Midwest Whitetail, and to see where it is today and see that, you know, we're not even close to slowing down. Like, there's so many more things that's in the works to make this better than what it already is. It's pretty exciting, you know, for not just for me, the old guy, but for the younger guys. Because I've got two boys. One's in college and one's in high school, and they're just as passionate about it. Which they grew up, you know.
It's cool to see them evolve into it now,
right?
too,
You know, they were
though,
just
like,
little bitty things when we first started, and now, you know, Josh has made a trip, come down, film casing, and now, you know, Josh is his favorite. He put old Dad to the side, and you know, he don't want me filming. Yeah, Josh did. So no, just really cool to see that excitement and passion, you know, still evolving even, you know, 15 years later. I think it's pretty cool for the brand.
That's awesome.
yeah. Helps having a great group of guys. You know, our team is one that is top to bottom. Everybody brings something unique to the table, you know. And this year, I don't want to even say it out loud because it's like we're not through this hot summer yet. There's some really big deer.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the thing, like, you know, for the people out there that are like, well, that's not me. It's like, well, it's not me either. I'm not hunting 200-inch deer.
Sure.
But I'm sure as heck going to live my life in a way I'm going to hopefully be able to someday.
Yeah.
You know, and like, that's where, you know, again, I look at Owen, I look at Chad, I look at Mike. They put themselves in that position. You know what I mean? And so, hopefully, one of the biggest deer in Midwest Whitetail history gets killed this year. That's all I'll say to tease it. Yeah, big.
That's exciting. Yeah, it's cool to see because you guys have the way you tell stories, and that's where there's some, you know, you see some content out there where it's film of a hunt, but it's not a story.
Right.
And it's like you guys are able to capture that passion and that heart that's in every one of them, and it's really cool to watch. As when you're out there not hunting, just capturing the content. Like how much are you? How different is that? Like how does that?
Yeah, are you doing like in your prep now? Do you guys capture a lot of that stuff too?
Yeah,
all of it.
Yeah, that's part of the story, right?
Just like he said, he's like, I mean, it's just like you never know when you're going to need it 2 years down the road, or if you need it this year, if you need it next year. Like, but if you don't have it, then you don't have it. So
Yeah.
it's just like just try to capture every single little thing you're doing, and it just builds to the story. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I can think of a lot of times where it's like, man, we should have filmed. Like, there was no reason not to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then, like, the story closes, and you're like, you talk about it. I mean, that's the thing. We talk about the team members. Or like, why didn't you film this? Well, it's like, I want you, if you called me and said, this is exactly what happened. Man, I put in the hundreds of hours. I had these tough hunts. Give me enough so that you don't ever have to tell anybody that. They can feel it. You know what I mean? And you talk about how do we hold ourselves accountable, I guess is probably the right way to get the work done / film it. We're really blessed with our internship. We've got guys that are here. We've got 4 interns this year. They're chasing the same dream we are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so a big component of this time of the year is giving them instruction, filming techniques. How does this translate into the editing side of it? Because, they're here, like you just said, the camera's your passport. At least that's the way I always looked at it. I mean, I was just really sick of getting yelled at by my parents for hunting. So I was like, well, how can I make some money to do it?
Yeah.
The camera was the entry level. It's a really easy way to pay back, because him and I aren't sitting here without a lot of people that invested into us. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of components to make it pretty easy. You know what I mean? But the internship's probably the one that I'd allude to as my favorite and easiest reason to always do it.
And that's cool. You guys do that. Like, what's the process if someone's interested in that? Because I've seen a lot of people out there trying to figure out how to self hunt. Starting with that public hunting, that's what they have access to. Like, what's the process of getting in this?
Yeah, I think that the first place I'd always tell somebody to start is do not wait to get your opportunity to start training for it. And that's something we get guys that will apply for the internship or ask that same question. And I'm like, the internship for us, it opens up every spring, or excuse me, late winter, early spring. But I would always tell somebody, you need to go, if you want to do this, you have to get your hands on a camera. And there's a lot more resources out there than having financial abilities to do it. Most of these guys are in college. They've got media departments. They could go rent a camera for a day. But everybody thinks, well, if I'm not hunting, I can't. Hunting is not your practice. You know what I mean? And so I would tell somebody, if you're trying to get into it, you got to get yourself a camera. That's first and foremost. Invest in yourself. You have to have some sort of ability to properly store your footage, because if you can't access your footage, you have no currency. And you need to be able to turn that into something from an edit standpoint. Obviously, the media today is very different than media, 3-4 years ago. Social media is a huge part of everything. But start to do your research now. YouTube University is what I went through. He did an internship. I more or less unofficially worked with Jared Mills. I mean, everybody has somebody as a mentor, right?
Yeah, sure.
And so you just have to put yourself in the best position for one of those internships that if you get the call to come, and that's trying to think of the best way to like tie a bow on that. But I just always tell people, I'm like, you practice every single day, not knowing when your opportunity is going to come, but so that when it does arrive, you're ready to actually step into the role, not start at ground zero.
So are you guys actively scouting for people to pull into that internship? Is that kind of how it, or
I
people?
wouldn't say we actively do that. I mean,
Yeah.
like, so for example, we opened up the 23 internship this spring.
Yeah.
Had a bunch of applicants. 4 guys made it. A lot of guys didn't. But every one of those guys that didn't, we provided some sort of feedback of like, next year, if you're still looking for this, here's what I would recommend to come do. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of internships out there now.
Yeah.
My buddies at the Breaking Point TV have one. Obviously, the Hunting Public's got one. Working Class Bow Hunter has started to do a small internship. And so it's a great way, in my mind, to give back and help the next guy chase the dream. I mean, that's, like I said, it's one of my favorite parts about Midwest Whitetail from a employment standpoint.
Yeah.
So.
And I would reiterate, like you said, if you don't get it chosen this year, keep working. That's what I did. So when I was in college, this was back when Greg and Warb and Zach were still at Midwest, and I would wear them out every Deer Classic. Man, I want this internship. I've never ran a camera. I'm going to college. He's like, man, get a hold of me when you get out of college. So every year, at the Deer Classic, I'd be like, man, I want this internship. Blah blah blah. So then I would wear Warb out, and then finally they called me like, hey, you know, like you live an hour away. Do you want to come down and like film some scouting videos or whatever? And I was like, man, I'm all in. I don't know how to run the camera, but I'm coming.
Yeah.
Like, so like, I probably spent like 2 months before, you know, before turkey season, just going down and like learn how to edit, learning how to run the camera, like doing like just little blog stuff, like scouting stuff on public land, and then it was just like, you know, the ball just kept rolling from there. So it's
Yeah.
just like, I mean, it took 2 years, I think, of me wearing Aaron out and Zach out and Greg out to you know, to get my opportunity. But that just goes back to you. Like what you just said is just like, if you don't get it this year, just keep grinding and just stay on top of it. And
Yeah.
it's just the drive having the drive, I think, is the number one thing as far as, you know,
The drive.
getting into
The drive and your why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the thing I recommend to these guys from like a core thing is like, you need to figure out your sustainable reason of doing this. Because a lot of people, you know, I've been joking with Alex, who's my new intern. He's like, when are we going to the woods? I'm like, I can't explain to you. I do not hunt for a living. You know what I mean? Like,
That's what everyone
and
thinks,
frankly,
man.
like, you know, I've gotten feedback in the past of like, you know, you make hunting videos for a living. It's like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just wanted to do anything and everything in my power that allowed me to go to the woods whenever I wanted. I did not want to, no offense to my dad, he was fantastic, he has a great career. He takes a week of vacation to do what he loves. And I was like, I'm not living a life like that.
Yeah.
You know, and did I ever see it morphing into this? Not necessarily, you know what I mean? But that, it's not about being on camera. It's not about seeing ourselves on a show. It's about just the love for deer hunting. Like
Yeah.
My favorite place in the world is to be in the woods. A camera just happens to let me do it twice as much.
Yeah.
Because like if I tag out, he's got a tag, gonna be there. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
You can still enjoy the hunt without
yeah.
having a
Yeah.
tag. Like, I
I
mean,
mean,
it's just
not
we've filmed
over.
so many deer over the years. It's just like, yeah, we didn't kill it, but we were right there, and it's almost. I mean, it's just rewarding as filming the hunt than killing a deer yourself.
Yeah.
It's just like, man,
My-
we got it. You know, it's
my
just
most
like,
impactful memories I can think of are when I was running a camera.
yeah,
I mean,
100%.
I think I don't know. I feel like it's a harder grind, you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
from the perspective of running a camera every day
Yeah.
that it was the actual do the hunting. But yeah, I mean, I recommend anybody that wants to do it while you're young because your responsibilities they don't get any less.
Yeah.
You know, your relationships don't get any less. You know, you have that time, chase it, try it. And the things I always tell our interns, because don't get me wrong, there's some guys that leave and they're like, I don't really ever want to do that again. Because it is a different level of commitment. And, you know, when I tell these guys they're here, I expect them to finish that all the way through the season. You leave with other, you know, skill sets that you can apply to whatever,
Sure.
you know, you ever want to go do. So, internships are a great way in. I mean, just don't wait for the opportunity to start practicing. Once you get it,
Yeah.
start now.
Yeah, you guys have been fueling a lot of people in the industry from that program, probably. So,
There's
It's been a good placement rating, I would say. I mean, anybody who comes through here, like, normally and does a great job, like, can
Yeah,
almost
I mean,
go anywhere
you
and
do
do
all-
anything video-wise, editing-wise. Like, it's
2010, I think, was the first internship year that Bill ran. I mean, we're products of it, I'd argue. You know, the people we've had the opportunity to work with, most of them are doing something out in that outdoor space. So proud of it. I mean,
just the amount of people that I've met and just, you know, friendships that we've made and just contacts, and it's crazy. It's nothing that I ever imagined getting into, you know,
no.
that we would have, but it's a sweet thing to have. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I'm still doing it. And, you know, it's panning out.
awesome. Yeah, how does that change for you, Chad? With, you know, what's your role has been kind of obviously evolved as you with Midwest Whitetail.
Yeah, I
but
mean, going back, like I said earlier, you know, 2010, you know, I'm pastoring the church, and, you know, I've been doing ministry for a long time. I'll always do that.
Mhm.
Long story short, you know, I come home one Sunday night, and that was always my thing. I would, you know, Bill would always put out, you know, the episode on the website, and so I got on there, and he just so happened to be talking about wanting to expand pro staff down in the southeast, you know. I'm like, I think I could do this, you know. I meet up with hunting, and we've been, you know, fortunate enough to take some good deer across the country, not just in the southeast, but we hunt a lot in the Midwest. So I just sent an email, you know, not thinking
Yeah.
that I'd probably even get a response, but I did. And it was like 15 minutes later, you know, he's like, send me some of your information. And of course, I'm pretty stoked at that point, you know. And so he's like, you know, do an interview, send it to me. So, you know, I do a video interview, talk about me and my wife.
Can we please
kids.
find that on the server?
Yes, it's
Pull it up.
pretty brutal. Like you don't realize how bad you were
Yeah.
until you look back and start watching some of this. And I'm like, why did he not just tell me to stay in Alabama and never, you know, call back again or anything? Anyway, long story short, I was so excited, man. I got up the next morning like at 6:30 and done the video and overnighted it. I mean, I'm trying to get it over there. But yeah, I mean, I just started out as just an everyday, you know, pro staff member, just like everybody else. And then, you know, here we are, fast forward to 2023, and you know, as doors opened up and opportunities presented themselves, you know, I'm sitting here with you guys today. I've been able to watch these guys come through the internship and grow and mature and develop into, you know, just what they are today. And for me personally, I get more enjoyment and fulfillment watching these guys, you know, evolve into what they've evolved into, and for me to be able to witness that, watch that, and be a small part of it has been awesome. So, you know, I wake up every day now, and Josh and I usually talk 3 or 4 times a day, Drake, you know, once a day, and, you know, I get to sit back and enjoy something that, like Josh said, you know, you grow up loving and having a passion for, and, you know, I'm kind of on the you know, behind the scenes most of the time,
Yeah.
you know, from the business standpoint, but you know, I get in a tree occasionally and,
Yeah.
you know, get to watch and hopefully put a tag on one. But
Yeah.
but for me, it's definitely more than the killing. It's about, you know, just witnessing and seeing that, hey, we're planting seeds and investing into the future of something that we love. You know, I mentioned it earlier with my boys. I've got a daughter as well, but, you know, just watching my kids grow up and being able to take what I've learned from guys like Bill and guys that came before me, and being able to implement those principles into my kids, knowing that, you know, 15, 20, 30 years down the road, if I can no longer do this, they're still being able to do it, and then their kids and grandkids will continue to be able to do it. And so for me, that's where my enjoyment comes from, knowing that, you know, we're continuing to lay that foundation for the future of all of our hunters, whether they want to hunt with a bow, a crossbow, a shotgun, a rifle, you know, still hunt, public land hunt, private land hunt, whatever, you know, just knowing that we're being able to try to continue to have a future for this sport. And we do that through the internship and other ways, you know, that's what's exciting to me, and that's what drives me every single day. Definitely over the killing. Killing's a bonus, you know,
Yeah.
putting a tag on one is a bonus. But knowing that there's kids and, you know,
Yeah.
that's going to be able to experience these things that we're experiencing, that's where my joy comes from.
Yeah, especially now, I think that the different stories and the kind of range of different topics you guys are covering, like we need as much of that information out there, because trying to get people into hunting and getting those numbers back up there's definitely different, like, where do I start? Where do I go? You kind of run that gamut of content. So that's what's great. Like the different stories, it's not just you have to have access to all these things you might not have yet.
Yep.
That's the thing about our pro staff is like it's such a wide array of different guys, just regular Joes. I mean, we're all regular Joes. Right. It's like one guy might hunt public, one guy might have a 100-acre farm, the other guy might have 2,000 acres. It's just like we're all the same team. You know, we're all trying to accomplish the same goal, and just, you know, just a wide array of all that.
And just might be a little bit different how you get there. But
Exactly. It's just, like we're in the, you know, like he just said, we're in the permission lease game, and you know, eventually that's the dream, is to have our own, you know, piece of land that we got, like Mike and Chad and Owen. So it's just, you know, it's constant evolving.
You go back to what was it always based on? Dream big.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's dream's a little bit different. You know what I mean? And I think that's 100% okay. But you know, we intentionally have tried to approach, you know, with this idea of carrying the legacy forward. Are we giving an offering for everybody? You know, even if it's like, we're not hunting your state, can you find enjoyment from this story as a deer hunter? Because maybe you wouldn't get the chance to hunt Iowa. I don't know. You know, we've got, you know, I always think about Nolan Redeker. You know, he's 20 years old. He's been on, I'll never forget, Bill's like, hey, we got a new team member. This was back in 2017 or 18. And when I start talking, he's like 15, 16 years old. And I was like, what? And he's just like, yeah, I don't know anything about filming. I was like, okay, you know, sounds good. And he has developed now into like, man, you want to talk about the kid that's just grinding out there in Kansas. He's, you know, he had a great story come together last year before. He self-films everything. Like, you know, so it's just like the diversity that exists. Personally, I hate the word pro staff. You know, like if we have a Midwest Whitetail team. What I do, what he does, what Nolan does, anybody on that team, the roles might vary, but we're all just a part of a family of guys that align with our reasoning for being in that group. You know, and I very proud of them, and we never give them enough shout outs. You know, it's a great group of people that enjoy capturing stories on film, and they are all pretty good hunters.
Yeah.
You know? So we're very lucky to have them a part of our team. And
Regional team's huge, man.
yeah, I mean, some of my
that's
best
where
friends. That's
Chasing
how we met
November-
you.
Well, yeah, that's how we met, but, you know, that's these Chasing November seasons. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's how they are developed and produced, is because we have such a good team.
Yep.
You know, if we didn't have that team, there would be no Chasing November.
100%.
You know, so just, you know, making sure those guys get the credit they deserve. Like Josh says, I don't think we even mention it near enough, but those guys knock it out of the park every single year.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And it's
just-
been most of the same guys too. I mean,
Right.
for the long haul. I mean, even when we got started, everyone's. I mean, we've added people, but like, I mean, you got the same dude's been grinding
Yep.
for
Are
10,
back,
15
yeah.
years, man. It's awesome. Like,
Yeah, and I mean that's what we talked about earlier in this, but we all kind of gravitated towards Midwest Whitetail for the same reason. And it was just there's no component that it is like about the person. I mean, I think that's something that I'm very proud of. You know, it's just like it's easy to talk to every one of them that like cameras. I mean, it sounds kind of weird, you know, because it's like we're all here for deer hunting, but the reason why there's that sustainability is just, you know, we get to do something all together, year in, year out. 8 seasons of Chasing November, 15 years of Midwest Whitetail. So,
Yeah, you just dropped season 8, right?
yep.
Yeah.
So season 8 just dropped last Sunday. There's 20 episodes in the series. Big shout out to Gavin Katurba for grinding it out on that. You talk about interns. He was an intern, had never edited in 2021. So you're talking just under 2 years. He's
Wow.
taken up the most important role at our company from an editing position.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, that kid has as much heart and passion as anything, you know. So it's 20 episodes, a lot of great bow hunting action, you know, through all of them. And it's my favorite series out there. I mean, basically, it shows everything that happened, and it tries to connect, you know, stories from Indiana with the guy hunting in Iowa, you know, weather fronts hitting in Iowa. Well, the heat that was just there is now in Indiana. How are they, you know, dealing with it? So on top of entertainment, you know, and just overall tune-up enjoyment. That's why we release it in August. Season's right around the corner.
Yeah.
What more could you want to watch than just hunting, you know? So it's also filled with, you know, lessons and trying to filter in as much tips as possible. Different parts of the country, you really never know what's going to come your way in that series. But 20 episodes, we're very proud of them. And new merch is available for the first time on Chasing November. So we dropped that yesterday. So it's been a very, very exciting process, and already ready to get season 9 going. So,
What are some highlights out of that one? Like, what's the?
highlights?
Don't spill it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
no spoilers.
I mean, the big highlights are going to be, you know, first one that comes to mind, you think about a bow hunting story, Caleb Griner. I mean, Caleb, you know, he's been one of my close friends since 2018. It would have been 2014. Let's take that way back. We met at a track meet. I mean, we had never known each other. Caleb and I met at a track meet. We're both sitting there, and I just muttered. We were running a 400 hurdle race. I was like, I want to be turkey hunting right now. And he goes, you hunt? Because I went to school in Des Moines. And I was like, yeah. We became best friends.
Yeah.
Literally that day. Well,
Sounds like the stepbrother scene.
yeah, seriously. Yeah.
We just become best friends.
Exactly. Well, you know, he is somebody that hunts in an area of the state that is very hard to bow hunt. A lot of shotgun hunting. It's a very, you know, just a different mentality. A lot of agriculturally based people who look at deer and want them all dead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so for somebody that wants to chase big deer annually, you know, let deer go, he's not in the best part of the state for that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Chasing November features his storyline with his deer called Hog Jr. that no bow hunter could not watch that chronologically and by the end of it just be like, please shoot your arrow. I mean, you've earned it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, highlights, Owen had a season of a lifetime. You know, he went through a pretty hard event, you know, and one of the things for me is like it really embodied what hunting can do for somebody, you know, from just an overall healing aspect and what the woods offers. There's some, I mean, as silly as it sounds, some of the coolest nature footage I've ever seen. Bobcat tries to attack some baby raccoons, and a mom raccoon just fends it off. I mean, that's something that went viral on the Instagram.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's just got something of everything. Whatever you do, I mean, there's public land hunting, there's private land hunting, there's bow hunting, there's gun hunting, there's old guys, there's young guys.
Yeah.
There's females, there's males. Like, it's a series that, you know, we put everything we have into, you know, and it's longer. You know, that's one thing that I think maybe sometimes we question is, like, from the attention span standpoint. You know, like, when we're dropping 4 episodes a night, like, oh, it's only 4. It's really like 4 hours of video.
Yeah.
Almost. And it's like, you know, from the standpoint of somebody's consumer, you know, availability, it's like, don't know. But I've never watched one of those episodes and not felt excited for bow season. I mean, that's, you know, that is what I'm most proud of, because whether you're gonna shoot a big deer or not this year, I don't know. But at least when you watch that series, you feel like you're going to.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna go do something. You know?
Anticipation builds a little, yeah.
Like, yeah. So,
Man, I was watching through a few of those last night. And,
Really?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, I know it's a weird gauge, but when my wife can watch something with me, it's like, I know it's good.
You're winning.
You know what I mean? It's just like she's following the story. She's following, you know, she's watching it for a different reason. And that's what I was looking for, because you were telling that story in a way where I felt like I was I was invested in that hunt, you know, and it's the same sort of wins, losses, everything. That's what I'm assuming you're feeling, just capturing the content. Like
Same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you're right in there with the hunter. I mean, you're just as invested as he is, you know. I mean, it's both of yours hunt. Like, when we kill a deer and you have somebody with you, it's never I killed the deer. It's like, we got him. It's always we. It's never I. It's just like, it's such a team thing that it's just like,
Yeah.
totally right. Like,
yeah.
No, my favorite part is just when the camera guy's going, shoot it.
please.
Yeah.
My favorite part, not so favorite part,
Yeah.
is when they say, I'm not on him.
Yeah.
You can't shoot him. You can't shoot him. And we've had some very interesting times over the years where that was the case. And, you know, you got 180, 190-inch deer, and the cameraman's calling you off. That's a tough feeling.
I'll take it every day.
It's a lot of emotion, you know, that goes through that. But, you know, a lot of times the viewer don't get to see that or realize they're like, well, you know, this guy had a terrible year. Well, he was very selfless. And I think that word describes our team to a T. Is like, our guys are selfless, whether it be from, you know, an instance from the tree stand like that, or whether it's producing content or whatever the case may be. You know, our guys, I personally don't know of any instances where somebody got mad because they got called off a shot, or they were asked, hey man, we're missing this part for this week's show, can you run and knock this out? I remember when you were handling Southeast show, you called me multiple times, you know, before I was in this position. Man, look, we need a clip for this week's show. And I would literally leave work and run down 30, 45 minutes away, shoot a clip, get it sent in so that, you know, that we could make sure that we had, you know, the footage and content we needed to produce the show for that week. And so with that being said, you know, it's like we have such a selfless team, and because of their selflessness, we can do the things that we do at the level that we're able to do it at. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to that core thing. You know, it's like no viewer, nobody owes us anything. You know, and like we do it because we like to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think and again, everybody has different reasons for doing things. I would just argue some are more sustainable than others.
Yeah.
That's there's no right or wrong, in my opinion. Midwest Whitetail's motto is storytelling, and you sign up for that, it's never an issue. To me, if something goes wrong, that's just another layer. You know, like there's some avoidable things for sure, but I mean, the camera, I would 10 times out of 10 rather a cameraman say, don't shoot, and have, you know, the gonads to just say, don't. I'll be much more upset if we shoot that deer. Because you go back to the beginning of this conversation.
Yeah.
How much have we filmed up to this point?
Right.
I do not want to deliver something, because like as a viewer, I was always like, I want to see the shot. I mean, that's ultimately, like, we can focus on all the strategies and all those things, but it's like, why do people watch deer hunting? Because they're not hunting right at that moment.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So we set out with a goal and prioritize. You have to have the final thing. You know what I mean? And you see that. It's not a claim. I mean, we look at YouTube and our analytics. Every time that kill shot goes off, viewership's gone. That's what they stayed for.
Yeah.
You know, and so you gotta. I mean, that's a commitment we bring to the table. But like at the same time, like I hate ever saying like you're welcome. It's like no, thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending your time watching our shows and what we're out here, quote unquote, producing. Because if you don't watch it, we don't get to do it. You know, and so a big shout out to every person that's ever consumed a minute of Midwest Whitetail, because that's the only reason our dream is occurring.
If people only knew how much time and effort that it takes to have a minute of actual good footage on the main show or Chasing November, like it's just, I mean, it's crazy. Like no one thinks of like, oh, you know, you're 45 minutes getting set up before you're even like sitting down to where, you know, like a regular guy, you go out and sit down in your stand and then you're hunting. Like for us, it's like 45 minutes, you know, we got pans, we got all this stuff to do. We got an interview to knock out before you're even like sitting down enjoying yourself. So it's just like, I mean, it's all part of the game, but it's just like no one sees all that. And it's just like, oh, you know, you guys kill all these big deer, blah, 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 whatever it is. Like, there's so much more that goes to it than like what you're seeing, like us killing the deer. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's just hunting with two guys all the time is, you can't just go off on a stalk and sit on the ground by yourself. It's just like you gotta have two guys. You know.
Yeah.
You're constantly thinking about it from two guys' point of views, and I mean, same goes with turkey hunting and everything too.
Yeah.
But it's just a whole different style of hunting than it is for somebody who just gets off work and just runs out and sits in the stand. You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes we love that. You know, like we go on a doe hunt that maybe you don't have to film everything or whatever, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it is enjoyable to go do that, but like, that's what we do. You know?
Yeah.
That's why we're doing it, because we like taking the cameras and stuff.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most days it never like gets under your skin.
Right.
There's always somebody that's like, must be nice. This is easy, yada, yada. And it does, like, there's a lot of effort that goes into it. And more or less the reason why it's a good topic of discussion is like, for those guys that talk about these internships, they talk about wanting to do it, just know what you're signing up for. You're never signing up to go hunt for a living. I've not got to meet one person yet. They might have more hunting experiences than the average person, but who they are or what they're doing when nobody's looking is a heck of a lot more complex.
Right.
That allowed them those opportunities.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I'm sure it's the same thing for you guys. Like any place you got to go see, any trip and hunt you've ever got to participate in, it was because of some sort of thing you went above and beyond in your career that gave you that opportunity.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to hunt for a living. So
Yeah. Well, right now more than anything, it's my family letting me go a little bit. So it's cool because I was talking to I have 6-year-old twin boys. So I was talking to them the other day about, seeing what their interest level is in it. And, because they've got to see me, I get to be in some of the footage and everything, so they get to watch it. And like, you guys want to do this? And I'm like, yes. Like they were waiting for me to ask him. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I'm trying to go through all that planning and figure that out. And that's where, we talked about it a little bit with youth season coming up. And I don't even know the level of different preparation that's going to be in this game.
Different ball game with kids.
Yeah, it's a little bit of entertainment over here while trying to. So that's my next hurdle. So you have any tips for that?
Yeah. I'll say, look, this is what I'll say. I've been blessed with 3 kids. My daughter recently just got married, so that tells you how old I am. My youngest is a junior in high school. They all love to hunt, and I made a lot of mistakes with my daughter because she was the oldest and she came through first, and I tried to be, I wanted her to be as serious about it as I was.
Yeah.
So I was like, you cannot move, quit talking, be still. All the things that as an adult you have to do if you want to be successful in most cases. So, I watched her get to about 13 or 14. And then I seen some interest kind of go away.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why is all of a sudden she don't want to do it no more? And so, later on, a couple years later, she got back into it, and she loves it now. Her and her husband, they hunt together, those kinds of things. But so I learned a lot from her that, hey, I've got to make this enjoyable, right? Because like we said earlier, if we're going to create an environment where our kids and grandkids want to be a part of that, then we've got to give and take, right? It can't just be about the kill. And so with my middle son, Kobe, you know, I was a little bit more relaxed and laid back, and I wanted it to be fun. And so it wasn't a big deal to take some M&Ms.
Yeah.
And, but I learned, don't buy the M&Ms and leave them in the wrapper it comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, get something that's a little quieter, because it's like, and I'm like, I want to tell him just to be quiet, be still, but I don't want to, you know, discourage him. But and then with Casey, it was just really laid back. And what I've seen, and this is not to take, it's my fault. Callie and Kobe both killed good deer as kids, and you know, I'm glad that they had those experiences. But it seemed like the more laid back I was with Casey, the more successful we were.
Yeah.
And he's killed, and this is not to throw jabs at the other two, but he's killed more deer. You know, he just turned 16. So at 16, he's killed more deer than the other two have combined.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, he's like, you know, but again, I made it fun and I made it enjoyable. And it wasn't about the kill, but it seems like the success rate went up because he was more relaxed,
Yeah.
you know. And so I would just say, just make it fun. Don't ever be too serious with them.
Yeah.
You know, they'll learn. They'll realize, just like anything else, that over time and as they mature, that hey, these are the things you can do, these are the things you shouldn't do, and I think that comes in time. But just make it fun, make it enjoyable. You know, try to get creative. You know, with Callie, I wasn't with Casey. I mean, we come up with just little games to, you know, to pass the time and you know, different things like that. I mean, one of the deer, and this is just one story that comes to mind. So, you know, in the South, we hunt a lot, Alabama, Mississippi as well, because that's where I'm from. And, you know, it's pretty hot, and we don't have much of a rut, and just a whole different style of hunting than in the Midwest. So we would be in just a homemade wood, you know, shooting house down there and fighting mosquitoes, you know, whatever. We got thermocells running in January, and, you know, it's terrible. It's terrible. But, you know, he had his cell phone out, and we're playing this game. Like, he had this game where, you know, you shoot the basketball in and how many you can get in a row or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like 126 in a row. And I was bound and determined to beat him. So, you know, I knew that the midday movement was a little better that day. So I was just trying to buy time to get us there. So, you know, I would get to like 90-something, then I would miss a shot. And then I would be like, I'm going to beat you. You know, and the next thing you know, it's like 10:45. And so and I'm like, all right, we're fixing to get on down. I mean, we got to get some lunch because we're going to come back and hunt the afternoon, you know. So I finally get there, and I beat him. And he's like, oh, man, you know, sorry, you know, just, you know, he's all upset because I beat him, because we're a very competitive family, by the way. And so long story short, you know, I handed the phone, and we're literally, I looked down to grab something, put it in the pack to get up, and I looked up, and there's this buck. And he's like, you know, he's standing there, he's a good deer case, and, you know, makes the shot, and we get down, and then so we go celebrate, take pictures, do the closing interview, recovery interview, whatever. And, you know, I look at my watch, it's like 12:45. And he's like, oh my goodness, we've been here like 7 hours. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, it didn't feel like 7 hours. And it was in that moment that I thought, you know what, the regret that I have as a parent is I wished I would have done that with Callie. And I wished I would have done that with Cody. So any advice I can give to any parent just starting out is do whatever you can to bring just some fun and excitement, and don't make it about the kill. Make it about the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Grind.
I don't have any kids, obviously, but my dad, you know, he's the one that took me hunting. My core memories as a youth hunter have nothing to do with killing deer. I mean, one thing that I attribute to my love and obsession for being in the woods, my dad was really good about letting me make my own mistakes. He didn't hunt for me. And I think that today, that has been a big root of why I love bow hunting. It's something that I've always been able to make a mistake. How can you problem solve? Like, it's always the next challenge, you know. And you bring that up where it's like keeping it fun. My dad, I don't know, say if it was like fun, you know, like there was no cell phones. There was, you know, his thing was very like, and it's changed a lot, you know, since I was 12 years old. We had flip phones and the snake game, so there wasn't as much temptation. But you know, his was just, why are we out here? You know, it was setting foundational principles of like what it meant to be in the woods. There was no scent control. If I wanted to go sit here, and I'm like, Dad, there's a big bee. He would let me do everything.
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm like, I was screwing everything up for him, you know, for his bow season. For, you know, he'd always put me in good spots to succeed. And I think it's just finding that right balance of fun, but not making it easy.
Yeah.
Because if you make it easy, I think then that turns somebody's like, oh, that interest level, that instant gratification, I think can be a huge deterrent for sustainable reasons of hunting.
100%. I feel like the grind is what made us. I mean, I can't speak for you, but I'm assuming it's the same. Like, I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Like, I shot my first deer by myself, shot my first turkey by myself. Like, grinded the whole way, like, by myself. And that's, shot a few small deer, and then you work your way up to whereas, if you start with a 180-inch deer at 6 years old, you're never, ever going to, like, experience the grind of, like, getting there and, like, all this stuff that, like, builds the passion. Like,
Yeah.
It's just a reward, of like I put effort into something, I accomplished a goal.
Right.
And that's where it's like the beautiful thing about deer hunting is like there's no right or wrong goal.
Have whatever goal you want.
Shoot what you want, follow the law. Just because you have a different end game doesn't make the principle of I think why hunting is such a great thing for so many people or so important. I don't think there's any difference. I mean, we're all there because it's the best place in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's just so many life lessons that's learned through deer hunting or elk hunting or whatever. I mean, I contribute sports to teaching me a lot of life lessons growing up, but hunting taught me just as many. And I mean, and I hope and I see that in my kids now. Like, like you're saying, there's a good balance there, but you definitely don't take the fun out of it.
Yeah.
I would say that. You definitely don't take the fun.
That's
You
good.
can't beat it into them.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's
let it be their decision.
Yeah,
Choice.
because it's funny because that's where I think he just wants to hang out. Like I think he just wants to hang out, and so it's that's where it's definitely a different goal from my end being there. It's like it's really just to have him. As long as he walks away with having a good time.
Yeah.
Step one, just keep going, right?
Build on that. Yeah.
So it's been interesting hearing. It was definitely a lot of tips. I hear the Nintendo Switch is a good one. So I'm like I get worried about distracting him too much from what but I'll figure it out.
Well, 6 years old is different than 12.
Yeah.
So you just kind of, like you said, you introduce them to it, hang out with them, let them feel like, hey, I'm getting to do an adult thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then as they get older, you're like, okay, let's kind of limit the Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram scrolling.
Yeah.
Let's pay attention to the way the wind's blowing.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we're doing this right.
I mean, look at Mike. I don't think anybody does the whole integrating the family that Mike. And
Absolutely.
obviously, I've got to see Mike's kids grow up, and now he's got 5 kids in total. Like, it's amazing every time. Like, he is able to get the whole family involved in some fashion. Whether that's going in the spring and shed hunting, whether that's some sort of food plot type related work. Like, but the thing that I've always seen that's admirable about Mike is he has the perfect balance of fun, but he's always giving like, so here's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Layering
You know
in
what
some,
I mean?
yeah.
100%. And
That's
so,
great.
it's like it reflects in his kids. Like look at Bella. I honestly don't know how old Bella is.
I think she's
12. She's killed a lot of big deer. She's, now going to use a compound bow for the first time this year. And she's so passionate about taking the next step. And it's like, there's nobody I know that hunts harder than Mike Reed, And so it's like to see that he's been able to find that healthy balance with 5 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
A full-time job, as much as he hunts.
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
I'm
nuts,
struggling
man.
with 2. We got 5 and 7. I mean, good points there. I think I got to coach Mom on the snacks, putting them in a quieter bag or something. She seems to be the snack packer, so I got to work on that part. Yeah. I try to get them out at least a couple times with me.
Stay away from the dill pickle chips too.
Okay, yeah, it seems
Little
like it's always
strong.
it's always the crunchiest, loudest stuff. It seems like for whatever reason, but
Yep.
That's awesome. All right. Well, just some one-off kind of questions. So, how are you guys prepping? I know you just dumped with the content for archery season. How are you guys prepping for archery season?
Well, I would think we'd all give very different answers on that.
Yeah.
My prep has been fairly non-existent, almost to the point of irresponsible
Yeah.
at this point. Chasing November has been the large priority. I mean, the job has to come first. Deadlines have to come first. Every farm that I'm hunting this year, brand new. Never
Okay.
stepped foot on them. Just tried to locate where I was hunting a little bit closer to my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Because one thing is that I've realized, hunting season, I used to be the guy that was like, get on or get off, see ya. Well, I liked her a lot. you know, and she wants to shoot her first deer with a bow. And so what we've been doing to prep is I've got cameras out, and I'm more or less, I don't care what bucks
Yeah.
are there. I've been just trying to place my cameras on deer
Yeah.
movement areas because that's what I'm trying to learn. I've been studying maps a lot, but more importantly, studying historical maps with leaf-off data, simply to try to see different trails, you know, because there's a lot of resource out there that you can get historical imagery, and
Yeah.
you can learn a lot from that stuff. So that's been my prep. I mean, it's just been all digitally. I've been on those farms twice. I've spent 2 days in the last 3 months.
Kind of an element of excitement with new.
Yeah,
there is a-
yeah. I mean, it's more or less just trying to
Revival.
figure out, like him and I talk about all the times, like my strategy for 23 is how am I going to hunt cold fronts? Where are my best north wind spots? How can I access? I don't care what deer are there. You know, it's like I just am trying to identify bulletproof things so that when I go and wing it, essentially, you know, we're going to at least be in the game step one, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of hanging hunting in our future. And, you know, it's just, you start hunting a farm 2 and 3 years, you have so much more information
Oh,
to
yeah.
make decisions. It is, like you said, kind of exciting. I
Yeah.
we,
Start of a new story.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, my main focus is Joey getting a deer, though. I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How has that kind of process of primarily digitally scouting been?
it's, you know, I mean, I've done it for quite a few years
Yeah.
just because, like, and that's something that, you know, I think sometimes we get flack for is like Midwest Whitetail is not a core group of friends that have fun. It's like, well, we all live hours apart from each other.
Yeah.
We're always talking, you know what I mean? So like that digital scouting, him and I live together. Obviously that's a little different, but like I've gotten on the on the phone, FaceTime maps with Caleb, with Owen, like, so we've got a lot of, you know, group discussions going on when we're doing those. And frankly, you talk about things we should film. Those might be it, but
Yeah.
also it's like, it's good. It's effective. I mean, at the end of the day, you cannot, and I'm never going to sit here and say that that's more effective.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground will always be better. But I'm not going to just sit here and not do anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And luckily, I've hunted quite a few different types of terrain and places, and so it's more or less just trying to look back and go parallels between similar types of properties. What did I observe on those? Will that apply here? You know, we're not able to do any food plots in any of these places. The wind directions on one are really good. My favorite farm that I got permission on, I can literally only come from the west, which is awful. And all the bedding is to the east.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, you know, a very trial by error,
Yeah.
trial by fire. But I'm excited. You know, like Chasing November is finally almost done. I will not stay in my house. Well, I'm buying a house this week, so
Okay.
it's just
Oh, wow.
I do have to get that done.
Yeah. and then it's on.
Then
Yes. Yes, that's on. Yep.
What are you, Drake?
I'd say for me, man, a couple of the properties I've hunted for 4 or 5 years, so we got a good beat on like how where stands need to go. Everything's already set. A couple of good deer showing up from last year, a couple new ones. But as far as those properties that we've hunted, they're pretty much set up, ready to go. Cameras are going to be out next week. And then going kind of back to what he said, you know, with the farms you have maybe a year history with. Like last year I gained a couple more that it was more hanging hunts, trying to figure out what the deer movement was, where can we have a stand next year. For this crop rotation, a lot of the farms were beans last year and they're corn this year, so it's totally different in the summertime to where like I'm not expecting any deer until, you know, that September, October, so I'm not, you know, but we've got stands already hung from last year that we, you know, I bounced around probably over 100 of those farms last year, but I was more into like, okay, how can I prep for next year? You know, what are the deer doing? How can we access, you know, just all those different things that you learn from year to year to year that now that going into this year, it's like, okay, well, we may only hunt. Like last year, I might have hunted that farm like 10 times, which was probably way too much, but I just want to learn everything. So this year, it's like, okay, well, I've got the stand hung. We have our access figured out. We have 1, 2, 3 options that we're probably not even going to hunt that farm maybe twice or 3 times, and that's going to be it. So other farms, you know, more or late season farms. There's one farm that we got that's brand new to us. We got some food plots on it, so it's kind of a blank slate. Just whatever shows up, you know, we're happy to have it, and thankful for the permission that the landowner's given us. So a lot of summer scouting, like I said, the crop rotation's a big thing back home. It's just like, you know, I have buddies that are like, man, I don't have any deer this summer. I'm like, okay, well, where's your beans? Where's your summer food? He's like, well, my farm's corn. I'm like, you're not going to have any deer until October. And it's, figuring out the rotation on those.
It's 2 years. I mean, I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
you have to have a property for 2 years. I mean, typically you do have that double row crop rotation, and
Right.
if you have beans on your farm versus corn the next year,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a completely different usage.
Yeah.
However, year 3 or 4, if it goes back to said crop rotation from year 1,
Then you got all
You've
that.
got-
I mean, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you're really 10 steps ahead of the game there.
Right.
Might not be the same deer, but
Yeah.
the deer in general will do the same
Movement
thing.
and so
Yeah.
on, yeah.
And so but again, it's like, you just try to extract as much information. Because like, I pull up a new farm, go, Drake, let's look at your pieces. What happened here last year? Because I mean,
Dude, we're on the maps. Like, I could sit on Onyx for like 4 hours a day and look at the same property and just be like topo lines and just like trails and like, when we scout and shed hunt, it's just like I'm always like tracking the trails of the deer trails. So it's like, okay, well, like, I don't know.
you want to talk about another benefit of filming everything every single day?
Right.
Seriously.
Easier to recall.
Yeah,
than-
no, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I go back to the velvet buck I killed in 2020. We had a stand set up for him, food plot, and it really wasn't for the deer that I ended up killing, but we had this buck, didn't shed his velvet, giant deer. And I was like, Drake, he's still in velvet September 24th. Got a cold front predicted, northwest wind. I'm like, I cannot hunt that spot. I didn't want to go back there because it's like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this. Yeah, you'll do all your plot prep in an area, and then all of a sudden you have a big deer, and now it's like you can't even look at it. You're like,
don't even wanna
I don't
go.
wanna look there. You don't want to spook him. But then, I look at the footage, and I'm like, we have to identify a tree to get in, because I thought we were gonna have to hang and hunt the day of the front. It was an all-in type thing. We were gonna screw it up, or we were gonna kill him.
Yeah.
We happened to see a tree, identified that from past footage, got in there, we were able to shoot him. But, it's just that, it just, again, it's like when you see that episode, there's no way to really showcase all the hours,
Right.
but
Experience, man. Just being out in the field, knowing what, just taking as much information as you can from every single property, every hunt. Like, I mean, you may have hunts where you don't see a deer, but it's like you're still learning something every single time you go out. So,
well, even backdating weather, that's one thing, like with all your targets. Like, I have 0 targets, quote unquote, to go after. He's got 4 or 5 that were deer from last year. What wind was he coming? Like, it's like, okay, Sticks came by this trail cam. But he daylighted 4 different days. Okay, it's like, but why did he? They aren't just there by chance.
Right.
Time of year obviously plays a role, but, I think it'd be cool if you dive into talking about that episode you did. You have a beautiful food plot, and you're not even going to hunt it. You're going to hunt
Right.
off of it, and it's
Yeah.
like,
that's the historical, like, because we didn't know that until, year 3 of hunting the property. So it's just like, we've always had the stand on the food plot, and it's just like, man, there's too many deer in there. Like, you're never going to get out. You're never going to get in.
Yeah.
You're going to blow it out. So it's just like, okay, well, let's hang back. We got perfect access. We don't have to spook anything. We're 70 yards off the plot. Like, yeah, we can't shoot the plot. That's just part of it. But it's just like,
Intercept
it's
them
not
and
worth,
then,
it's not worth the risk of that. But it's like, if you hadn't hunted that property for a couple of years, you'd never know that. So it's
well,
just,
and you can't move the food plot. I think that's the first thing people
Right,
say. Well,
right.
if it's a bad spot, move it to a good spot.
Well, it's
It's a permission farm. He said, this
can't
is where
move
you
it,
can
this
put the
is where it's
food.
at, so it's just
Yeah.
like,
Make it
and it
work.
works. It's great. It's a great spot, but it's just like, man, you can't hunt it. So it's
Yeah.
just like, have it there, have the does there, take advantage of whatever buck's coming through there. And it's, we got a couple deer that should be there. So
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
When you're obviously getting into a few new properties, and then you're have some history with the ones you're at, like whenever you're trying to learn through with the trail cams, like how are you deciding on how many, like what's the right place to start there, and then what's that strategy for getting as much on the ground information if you
I would
can't be
say
there
the
yet?
more cameras, the better
More-
always.
yeah.
But like, that's just me, because I'm just a deer nut and just want to know when he's doing it, why he's doing it, where he's doing it, how he's doing it, just
Yeah.
like anything like that. So like, I mean, a lot of these properties are smaller, so it's like, okay, well, I've got a corner here, corner here, corner here. It's just like, okay, let's throw them up on the outside to know who's coming in, who's going out, more than who's actually in it.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of those, it's just like they're leaving and coming back, whatever.
Yeah.
They may not bed there, so it's just like, okay, having those 4 exits covered tells you, okay, well, they're coming in and out. That's all. That's kind of all you need to know on these
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
farms, because
Yeah.
it's like either he's in there or he's not. But
Yeah.
it's like, where he's going, how he's using it. Like for instance, we have a 50-acre farm, and we used to park in the entrance of the hayfield. Well, come to find out, like, the past 2 years, like, those deer are using that every single day. And
Yeah.
it's just like, when my truck's parked there, I'm just screwing
blocking,
ourselves.
yeah,
Like, all the deer are trying to get in through that one, and it's just like, man, like, but it didn't hit me until we put a camera there, and just having that historical stuff is huge, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah. Once I put out cameras on these farms, I mean, Alex and I have been talking about it. Like, I'm going to have, like he said, the more cameras, the better.
Yeah.
Time of year where my cameras are going to go. Obviously, you're trying to ingest different data. My strategy is going to be pretty much twofold. Like, this time of year, I'm going to be hunting the does just as much as I'm trying to get scrapes and inventory on the bucks. I mean, like, October, it's a great time frame. Scrapes are a great way, different mass crops, et cetera, whatever food sources are available. But my particular farms, my gut is that I'm going to be getting into my good action late October and on. I really don't think I'm much in the game early season on these pieces. But right now, all of my cameras are set up to tell me how many does are there, where are they at, what are they using, I'm trying to identify those quote unquote bedding areas, because it's like, I don't know what bucks are there. I don't really care. And at some point, I'm really banking on what she does every single day is going to bring it by.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you can get a little top heavy on scouting just because you want to see your deer on food plots. You just want to see him on every single scrape. But I don't know if that necessarily always helps you kill him.
Right.
I think that's one thing I've taken away over the last few years is, like, your basic travel routes, your pinch points, what would a deer do?
Yeah.
Okay. Now what's the mature buck going to do a touch different? That's what my strategy is going to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's big, hitting on like what your does are doing, because that 50-acre piece, man, like we have like 7 or 8 resident, maybe not 5 or 6 resident does that are in the food plot every day, and it's just like, okay, well, like, let's not hunt it, like wait till they come in, and we've hunted it for 5 years, so going back to the history thing, but it's just like every year, like November 12th through the 17th is like the hot. Every single year we have on that particular piece. That's when all the bucks come in. So it's just like, okay, well, these does come into heat a little bit later than, early November. So it's just like that's the time to be in there.
yeah, I mean, you look at, Owens or Lee's, and
I mean,
you
they
really
know.
digest those trail cams. Like, there's a spot on Owens farm. He's like, November 2nd through the 7th, that's when every buck that's in the area comes through this pipeline.
Yeah.
Because it has something to do with that particular doe group going into a consistent estrus cycle. I mean, you've got that information. And that's where it's like trail cam photos, it's totally on you how obsessive you want to get about it.
Yeah.
Do you like it from a standpoint of it's like, big deer, cool, let me go hunt him? Or is it like, we've looked at the sticks photos or any of these other deer, and it's like, go look at the weather conditions. Was there any, like when I killed that velvet buck, we'd only had 3 weeks to basically go off of, but like he was very daylight active. And we deduced that he exited his bed. He ended up in the same spot every night, but whether he was daylight or not, completely depended on whether it was a northwest or a southerly, north or southerly. He exited his bed totally different. And I was like, he's going to daylight there on that north wind, but we cannot be in that tree, and like it just, the backdating, I think, can give you a lot of information. Like, guys are always like, man, this buck showed. Like, I always think about Jeff Dietz when I think about this topic, which is the consistency that a buck might hit the same scrape or check the same doe bedding area. If you look at it, there's a lot more pattern, at least where we're at. Again, I think there's guys in the South that'd be like, kick rocks, this does not happen around me. And I'm like, I don't claim to know at all that different style of hunting. But in the Midwest, if you're trying to kill a deer, analyzing historical data is just killer on them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, with the ease of use now, like you think about the guys that have been doing this for 20 years, 30 years, as long as we've been alive. I bring up Mark Drury here, like him and Terry, I remember he told me that he used to make a notebook every day. They would write down the weather conditions.
Yeah.
You didn't have the weather app. They paid attention to the weather that day. I mean, they've got their big thermometers on the barn, like wind direction. They were cataloging these things, before it was a cool or easily accessible thing to do. And now it's just at everybody's fingertips to go 2 steps back and make those decisions.
Triangulate a few different data points and then make a
And
plan.
then all of a sudden you're probably going to be able to make some pretty informed decisions. So,
I think a lot of that, like, I mean, not only, I mean, like all their farms, like, you know, you don't have to have 1,500 acres to do that. Like, I have 50 acres, and I'm like, okay, like these does do this time of the year. It's just knowing that historical stuff is, once again, it's just killer. But
Yeah.
you don't have to have a 1,000-acre farm and a 180-inch steer to do it. I mean, you could do it in your backyard, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
and I think our DNR, you know, kudos to our DNR compared to everybody else's across the country. Like, I mean, they've got it figured out as far as non-resident tags, and you know, I mean, I hate to say that to you guys, but like,
Yeah.
you know, like Iowa's good for a reason.
Yeah.
And we don't have any gun hunting during the rut, and it's just, you know,
Yeah.
gun
Yeah.
season is late season, and that's it. Like, and there's no crossbows, there's no, we can go down those old loopholes. But we don't
Yeah.
need to,
it's
but
just age structure. I mean, I
age
think they're
structure
like,
at home is just
you know, you look at
incredible.
southern Iowa versus northern Missouri.
yeah.
If there's an imaginary line there, the deer aren't different.
Right.
What people can hunt them with and when you can hunt them is different.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's, you know, at the same time, we don't have a rich tradition like Missouri's rifle season.
Right.
You know, like gun season, shotgun season has it, but I mean, like, I've got the opportunity to see some of those rifle camps, and it's like, this is awesome.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like you go back to, it's like, why do you hunt?
Back to your why. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna
You know,
say,
it's
that,
like-
that same.
Shooting a big deer is not always the reason, and that's totally fine. I mean, like, I've been to some of those camps, and I'm like, man, I've never felt this excited about hunting.
Dude, I've
You know?
had some of the most fun times deer hunting, pushing deer with shotguns that I've ever had anywhere else. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
It's just, I grew up doing that, and we don't really do it anymore. But it's just like the atmosphere and the group, and just like everybody wants to go, you know, fill their tags, and it's just, I don't know, it's just something about the camaraderie of that. So I feel that, you know, Wisconsin, Missouri, Pennsylvania, whatever, like, I love that, but you know.
That's where it's like, it's
That's why
hard
we
to
have
even
a
dive
better
into
age
that, like,
structure,
for sure.
which DNR does better. I mean, that's not even something I'm ever going to touch, because it's like,
Right.
Iowa's traditions are different, you know, Missouri and
Down
Wisconsin.
south, you know, dog hunting is still a big thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, 40 walker dogs on 2,000, 3,000 acres. And
That'd be so fun.
Hey, man, they have like 50 guys show up with, well, I say 50 guys, 50 individuals, husbands, wives, kids.
Right.
They're lining up, you know, you hear the dogs coming, and all of a sudden your heart rate's going 9,000 miles an
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
You know, and,
Well, just-
you know, they got the little boy, all right, get ready with their shotgun.
Yeah.
And it's like, and, you know, for me, you know, that's, you know, I enjoy the filming and the still hunting part of it, but for those guys, like, that is what they work so hard
Oh,
for
yeah.
all year long, to be able to take 2 weeks off
Yeah.
in that time frame. Because, you know, of course, the rut, the scent's stronger, the dogs do better. But they live for that 2-week time frame where their families can go to this, you know, a hunting camp, is, you know, they call them deer camps or whatever, and be able to run these dogs and listen to these dogs. And, you know, it's just, like you said, traditions are totally different depending on where you're at. And I'm never going to knock some, you know, those guys for that at all, even though that's not necessarily my cup of tea. But I would never knock them. And I've even told them, look, I'm going to get like 5 camera guys down here one day.
Dude, yeah.
And we're going to film this. 'Cause, like,
That'd be
this is
sweet.
cool. They're like, you know, they've got nicknames on the CB radios.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, Rev. Yeah, come on, Buckshot. What you got? You know, it's like, and you listen to these conversations and talking about historical data. Like, they know where these deer are going to
Oh,
cross.
yeah.
And it's like, you know, Bobo, go down here, you know, to where the stump is at the split. He's going to cross right there. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, boom. And there's an 8-point. You know, it's like, this is crazy.
It's just
It's fun, man.
follow the law, be safe doing it, and
Exactly.
hunt your way. I mean, like, that's where it's like, you know, we talk about how we prep, and it's sometimes I'm like, we just do it the way that we do it in our state.
Other
You know
guys
what I
may
mean?
prep the day before gun season and get their orange out of the closet and then get their shotgun
Yeah,
shells. Like,
sure.
it's, I mean, this is just how it is. Like, I've done it all. I mean, I've shotgun hunted, you know, but
Yeah.
it's just the lane you fall into, I guess.
Yeah, I guess there's so many different ways to do it, and as long as you're having fun and being
Exactly.
safe, do
Who
it.
Who cares,
So,
man?
yeah.
Just enjoy it.
Yeah,
Like, so much drama out there.
it's like my goal is just,
hunt my way, hunt this way. It's just like, go have fun, do it legal, and just
yeah,
shoot whatever you want, man. Like,
I just got to keep the kid not
right.
bored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, well, no, I appreciate you guys coming by, hanging out with us.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, for our first episode. So, definitely
fun.
excited to watch the rest of Chasing November, check more of that out, and then obviously we're working on some other stuff together. But thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it,
you
fellas.
having us.
Yeah.
Appreciate all you guys do for us.
Right.
excited about the 2023 season.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again. So,
Absolutely.
all right. Thanks a lot, guys.
I appreciate it.